All right, we're going to go over the review for your performance challenges for this first week in Maymester. We decided to do it this way, and so you guys can give us input as to whether you like it or not, so that we would not have to make you come in on Friday, and you would have a copy of it that you could look at and work with. You were given the proper names, and so you had Officer Kirk, you had Main, and then West Main Street, Dodge, Mr. Smith, Mr. Nash, Mr. Rich, and I think later on there was also another proper name. Miranda was in there, so, and then there's another proper name that the 180s got to. All right, so reading this through, I don't know that I need to read it all with you, just kind of looking through it. You can scroll down and read it. Just point out a couple of things. That as clause in the second line needs to have a comma after it. Trailer house is not capitalized. Gray Dodge was capitalized, but pickup truck is not, and pickup truck is exactly as it's shown there. Then going on further down, I think one of the words that you might not write a whole lot, but wrote in this one is the word garage, and it was in there many times. This, of course, was a robbery or a theft. You have Mr. Smith, Mr. Nash, Mr. Rich. And then as we look on further down, I don't think there was anything else on that particular page. So let's go ahead and turn the page and look at the second page of the test. Now this is, of course, my second page. It may not be your second page. All right. Paragraphing, again, is really subjective. It sort of depends on how you decide that the sentences are going together. The main rule of paragraphing is that when it changes the subject, you start a new paragraph. However, make sure, or not however, but do make sure that you do paragraph lits. Do not turn in a lit that is just one big column, all right? One thing we need to look at is in that third paragraph, reported several break-ins. Break-ins actually should be hyphenated. It could be, if someone were not speaking proper English, they might say we were breaking in, or we just found we were breaking, something like that, and so it would be B-R-E-A-K-I-N, not necessarily with the S, but if you're going to do break-ins, Merriam-Webster Dictionary had it as a hyphenated word. Miranda is capitalized in that next paragraph, but warning is not. On one of the tests, I may have, you see where I marked out two of them immediately, right after the Miranda. I may have messed that up in dictation and said two of them men. And if I did, that certainly wasn't correct. So we won't count that off if I did that. All right, going on down, court of law would not be capitalized. Again, pickup is one word. I don't think there's anything else there in that section, and let's go to the back page. The 30 takes you through 120. 35 on the mark takes you through 140, and I'm not sure where I stopped on all of those. 40 takes you to 160, and then 45 takes you to 180, and so there was another proper name down there at the end, but most of you did not get to that. I think on the 140, I said at mark 39, at that time, comma, Officer Kirk and I got Mr. Nash out of the holding cell. It would be okay to put a comma there, and took him up to a room. And I think I said that from there on, but I'm not sure what I said on that particular one. I know I marked it because there was an error. Now, what we're going to want you guys to do, oh yeah, go back up there to that second paragraph, Assistant District Attorney, and kind of look at that. What we're going to want you to do is to have discussions about these, and you know, if you disagree with anything, it'd be fine to point it out and give us a reason why you might disagree with it, or if there are some things on here that you would punctuate a little differently, that's a good point of discussion too, because again, there are many different ways that you can punctuate transcripts. My way, or the way that the copy is not always 100% correct, and so there could be some other things that you do. You may have paragraphed at different points. Any of those kinds of things would be good points for discussion. So what we're going to be asking you to do is give us feedback on each of these tests and give us the points of discussion that either were difficult for you in the phrasing of it, or difficult for you by maybe a specific word that you had never written before, or maybe something that you look at and you just don't agree with the way it looks in the hard copy. Again, many different ways to do things, but we want to generate discussion on each one of these tests. So you should maybe have a couple of things that you'd like to talk about, or that you would like to maybe discuss about this test. All right, now we're going to move to the jury charge. Again, I'm not going to insult you by reading it to you again. It really was very standard at first. Down there after mark 7, I have the word must circled, and in one of the tests I believe I said may. Therefore, comma, these instructions may be considered, and I don't remember which one. I think I did it in the 200 test, which would not involve a whole lot of you. But anyway, be careful about that. You're always going to have sympathy, prejudice, other kinds of words that go with that, so that's pretty standard. The first page, I believe, is pretty standard, is a regular jury charge. Going to page 2, and I warned you about this on the little paper that we included with your test, and I told you that you were going to have all these things that would hit you at the very same time. State, if you decide that the state has proved, state would be capitalized there. You would set off beyond a reasonable doubt. In that second paragraph now, here is the actual case and what is going on. In normal jury charges, you will find the information will be listed and those charges will be put down there. So this is the way it was set up. The information in this case charges that on the 21st day of November, comma, at the city of Las Vegas, comma, state of Nevada, comma, the defendant, comma, John Dean, comma, committed the crime of second-degree kidnapping against Barbara Jackson. All right, there's your first period. He has also been charged with the crime of robbery of the elderly and first-degree aggravated motor vehicle theft against Barbara Jackson. Now, in that paragraph, I gave you most of those things. The listings will be pretty much the way that they are there, and so that's what you should have done. The other hard word that I think you might have had in this test is the word identification or identify. Be sure you know how to write identification, because that's going to be crucial in some of these jury charges. And in fact, in this particular jury charge, it was the crux of it, because John Dean is saying that Ms. Jackson just didn't get him as the person who committed the crime. You have that a lot of times when people will say, you know, she or he just mistakenly identified me. So make sure that you get to where you can write identification well. All right. There were some plurals on the word verdicts. There was more than one verdict form in this one, and so sometimes you're going to have more than one verdict form to fill out. All right. Going to the next page. Again, you had identification, and then you also had the word identity. You had identification again, because again, that was the crux of the case. Now, down at the listings, from mark right where mark 26 is. All right, you're saying here are some things that you must consider when you are deciding whether this was or was not the person who committed these crimes, colon. All right, and this is, I didn't say 1 and I didn't say 2. I actually said first. So first, colon, capital, did the witness have the ability and opportunity to actually see the defendant? Question mark. New paragraph. Second, colon, capital, was she able to see him at the time that the offenses were committed? Question mark. Was the time frame long enough so that she could really see this man at the time these events were happening? Question mark. How close was the witness to the defendant and how good was the lighting? Question mark. Had she ever seen or known this man in the past? And again, make sure you get that word past right. It means in something previously that happened, so it's P-A-S-T and not P-A-S-S-E-D. In any way, and any way is 2 words in the way it's used here. Going to the last page. Burden of proof, good brief on the state, capitalized. Don't think there's anything else you have. Then you have the word identified. So you have identification, you had identity, you had identified in this jury charge, if you went that far. 35 would take you to 140, 40 would take you to 160, 45 would take you to 180. Okay, so going on a little bit, sometimes I said verdict, and sometimes I said verdicts. So, so 40 will take you to 160. If you turn the page, 45 takes you to 180, and I don't know where I stopped on that. Sometimes I have to go on just a little bit to get it done. Now, up in that first paragraph, back around the 43 mark, bailiff is not capitalized, but who in turn will notify the court. Court would be capitalized there. Now, you will inform the bailiff of this court? No. But when you're notifying the court, you're talking about the actual judge, you would capitalize that. Of course, 50 takes you to 200, which is the top speed. Okay, again, generate some thoughts about this. I know one thing you're going to say is that you didn't like all those proper names coming at you at one time, and that's true. But that is very typical of a standard jury charge. Some of the others, we've taken them off and they haven't been there. Oh yeah, on the top of the 3rd page, we had the 1, 2, and the 3 again. 3, the first, second, and, oh, yeah. Okay, Ms. Mallon just pointed out to me that at the top of the 3rd page, I didn't say 3rd, I said 3. Okay, but again, you're writing verbatim. That was a mistake that was made in the actual copy on the test. So you just write what you hear. So it is a little different. First, second, and then 3. Now this looks like a mess, but we did not start the 200 tests here. We started the 225 up at the top. So because I had given you so many proper words in the other 2 tests, I kind of decided to make it a little easier for you and not start off with the typical, would you state your name? So if you'll move that up a little bit, where I said start 200 test here, this is actually where we started everybody's test except the mock speed, except 225. All right, nothing on that. It's pretty standard right there at the first. On my next page, which definitely would not be your next page, but on the second question down, I think I said, what were you going, and that was just a mistake I made at the 80. There was another, on the answer I added a word the on the 100 test. So all of those we catch because they're on our hard copies. I don't think there's anything, this is really pretty nice after we got past those names, which you didn't really have to do anyway. Supermarket is not capitalized. It would be a small s. And it was capitalized down there on that bottom one, but we corrected that. Little weird construction on that first answer, comma, probably for the last 20 years. You might want to put another comma there. I would for the last 20 years, comma, I would probably go 3 times a week. I wouldn't have a problem with that if you did that. I don't see anything else on that. I don't see anything else that you might have a problem with, or, you know, would have not known how to punctuate or how to write. I think those are pretty standard. Next page. Again, I think we stopped the 100 at that answer to that first 1, 2, 3, that third question. We stopped there, and you can see where it's marked where we stopped at 100. Just pointing out the answer right here. Again, remember, if the answer to the question is just a simple yes or no, you put no, period. And then if they elaborate on it, then you make that the second period. The second sentence. I love the construction in that last question. So which part of the front end of your car was hurt or damaged? I don't know that a car can be hurt. Kind of a improper question as far as the attorney was concerned, but that's what he said, so that's what you put down. All right? Going on to the next page. This takes us, I think I stopped the 140 after mark 39. And then 45 takes us down to the, well, I think what I did was, on that last second from the bottom question, did you have your foot on the gas? And the question mark, and then the answer, I think Rick said no. We didn't go ahead and finish all that out because it would have given you more words than you needed. Okay, don't think there's anything really unusual about this one. If you want to make comments about it, certainly do that. Each one of these can generate their own form of discussion, but I think in going through it, you do need to comment on something, whatever you would like. I think that takes us to, 50 takes us to the 200, so we actually stopped on that second answer, no, comma, sir, colon, I did not. And then, of course, the Mach speed went on up and actually got the word Pontiac, which you guys didn't have. And so you can read the rest of that up to where you'll see where the mark 20 is there on that last answer. That is actually the 225 stopping point. All right?